Today we're going to go through the procedure of removing the XS650 crank bearing with just some common shop tools that you should have laying around the house. If you don't have them, they can be easily obtained without much expense. And we will just get started. The first thing we're going to do is remove the outer race of the bearing and set it aside. The numbers always go out. And we're going to get the circlip off. Hopefully. This is where you're supposed to lose a fingernail. You bastard. Just about got it. There we go. Okay. The next thing we're going to use is a common paint scraper or gasket scraper. And if you'll notice, it's been beveled to about a 45-degree angle on this side. And it's pretty sharp too. In fact, it's the only part of these chisels and tools we're going to be using that is sharp. And what we're going to try and do with it is catch it between the bearing and the shim, right in there, just like that. And we're going to hit it with a hammer, and it should take and drive the bearing off the width of this tool, which is 2 millimeters or 80 thousandths. So let me get to the other side of the camera and I'll give it a try. Try and catch it between the shim and the bearing. Give it a tap. And you see the bearing move out. Now notice the whole time I'm doing this, I can freely spin that race. If at any point you cannot spin that race, you are going to damage your bearings. So always double check to make sure that turns freely. Okay, that being done, now we can go with the next size chisel, which is a I think it's a 3/8 chisel. Yes, it is. It's a 3/8 Craftsman chisel. Stick it in the same slot. Check, make sure that you can spin that race freely. If you can't, stop. Grind your chisel and do whatever you've got to do to make sure that it does spin freely. Tap it in and you'll see your bearing move just a little bit farther away. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with just a little bit larger chisel. I won't get that shim on the outside, and if you damage the shim a little bit, don't worry about it. You can take a small file and clean it up with no problem. But we're going to get that out, get the shim to the outside toward the bearing. Again, check our race, make sure it spins freely. And you'll see it move that much farther out. Now you can use progressively larger chisels and drive this bearing out a considerable distance, or you can just tap backwards on it a little bit like you just saw me do, and it should do the same thing depending on just how stubborn the bearing is. Next, we're going to use a common bearing puller that you can buy at most any auto parts store. You can get them from Harbor Freight or any place like that for around $30 or so. They're not very expensive. But we're going to take and get that bad boy behind that race, snug it up a little bit. And here again, make sure that you can turn that race freely. If you can't, you are going to destroy your bearing. We'll get a wrench, put on the end of it, give it a turn, and you'll see your bearing just slowly and surely easing right off. The most important thing is to make sure that you don't do anything to damage that race, the cage actually that holds the rollers. There it goes. There's the bearing. It's off. It's undamaged and can easily be used again. And that is the procedure, the only procedure that I have found without a bunch of specialized tools that allows you to do this and not damage your bearing. So there you have both parts of the bearing. Falls right back in, just as good as new. And there's a shim behind it. And if you damage the edge of this shim, which I did not, but if you do nick it up, you can take a small file and just knock the edges of it off and reuse this shim. It won't be any problem at all, because they are hard to find from Yamaha. But anyway, that's how it's done. It's just that easy. So have fun, guys.